Pennsylvania. This is where I grew up. And while I haven't lived here in 15 years, every time I return, it still feels like home. Between family visits, petting one dog, and seeing another that gets upset over its little toe beans get touched, it can be a little bit difficult to make time for photography. I think for all of us, familiar spots can begin to feel mundane. Still, it's important to get out, explore, and rediscover aspects that can make a place special. Pennsylvania is as rich in greenery as it is in industrial history, which can make for some interesting subjects as nature tries to reclaim them. This time around, we'll be exploring a small section along the Allegheny River, and we'll check out a few of the sites here, as well as the history behind them. It's been a long time since I've come down this way, but this sort of emerald green color in the water. So beautiful. I really like it here. It's a little bit atypical that I end up looking for a shot like this, but well, let's say I usually end up enjoying a landscape image relative to a portrait image. But what I'm looking at here, I really like this pine tree on the right-hand side and the waterfall on the left-hand side, and then you have the whole middle of the scene filled in with the beautiful emerald water here. So let's go ahead and get an image and see what that looks like. So not bad. Let's go ahead and climb down here and we'll see what we can get from the base of the falls. I think the angle's going to be pretty important here. I want to use this rock that's in the foreground, and I think going lower down to make it creep more into the scene just looks a little bit better than having it lower down. So we'll take a couple different images and compare how they come together. From here to get the next angle I wanted, it was time to get my feet wet. There we are, this is it. So there's a few rocks in the frame, one lower down towards the middle, and then one over on the left-hand side. We will focus stack on the lower rock, the rock that's a little bit further over to the left, and the waterfalls themselves. And I'm gonna pan up, and then we'll stitch this all together into a single image. Here's the focus stacked image, but we still want to get those trees and add the canopy in. So we grab one more frame and then combine that together, and here's our final image. There were some people that were politely waiting to go down to the falls until I was finished, so I wrapped it up and continued on. Really nice down there. I wish I had just a little bit more time. I think solitude is a big component of enjoying spaces like these, and you need to leave room for other people to have that. I think I'll like some of those photos at least. So that's a good thing. It's been a while since I've been able to take photos of waterfalls and things like this and forests. As we're heading down the hill, this is a good time to talk about the history. If you're already familiar with the region, it's likely because of this city, Pittsburgh, the Steel City. In the early 1900s, this city accounted for nearly half of the nation's steel production. But Western PA also has strong ties to another form of industry just a little further to the north: oil. The Pennsylvania Oil Company, later becoming the Seneca Oil Company, is widely credited with the birth of the modern oil industry in Titusville, PA in the mid-19th century. This led to an oil rush in Pennsylvania around a decade after the gold rush, leading to boom towns like Oil City, Titusville, and the now abandoned town of Pit Hole. In 2004, then-President George W. Bush signed a bill recognizing the cultural significance of the oil region as a national heritage area.
I love oil so much that I will sign this bill and declare this section of Pennsylvania the Oil Region National Heritage Area. I don't care how many shoes I get thrown at me. Just don't tell Cheney, though. Heh.
Within this region, like much of Appalachia, you'll also find iron furnaces. These were resource-intensive, using coal and lumber to reach the temperatures necessary to smelt iron ore. Their location was meant to strike a balance between ore and flowing water, as water mills would power bellows to fuel the fire with air. The need to export oil and resources from the region resulted in the hurried expansion of the Allegheny Valley Railway in the late 1860s. This line followed the twists and turns of the Allegheny and was often plagued with ice jams and landslides. The line was acquired by the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1913, and decreasing travel time between Pittsburgh and Buffalo was a high priority. Several tunnels along the line were constructed, including this, the Wood Hill Tunnel. Very cool. You can feel cold air just coming out of this tunnel. And it's absolutely black inside, aside from a couple of cyclists with their lights on. Very cool. 2,868 feet long, with a slight curve that prevents you from being able to see the other end. Used by the railroad until the late 20th century, now it's part of a bike trail. This thing's so old you have like little stalactites forming up on the roof now. We'll be back in a second to ride through there, but I want to check out this old trestle over here for this railway. It just looks really serene with the water passing through underneath it. Two rail lines visible at the bottom here. This one would have likely been part of the realignment that was done in 1915, while this was likely part of the original line in the late 1860s. Really get to take your pick. Bridge number 1 is a little bit boring. Let's check out the other one. I'm trying to find a proper angle that I really like. The rocks here are very precarious. It's a little difficult keeping your balance. Maybe a little further back. I want to find my frame just right if I'm going to put the ND filter on. This is a difficult spot to work the angles. I really wanted to feature the stream and eventually found my way to this spot. Got set up on the tripod, put the ND filter on, and took this photo. I really need to get one of those magnetic filters. Oh, goodness. Maybe better off without the 10-step filter, just on the tripod. This one needed an HDR treatment across 3 images to pull together. I kind of wish it had stayed more cloudy, because this dynamic range is huge. I'm clipping on either end with a lot of these photos. Can't always pull them together. Would have been better to come here around like evening or earlier in the day. Let's get everything mounted up on the bike and we'll check out this tunnel. I do have a light that's mounted on the bike, but still, going inside of this tunnel, it was so dark, a backup flashlight that I brought really came in handy. I already can't see anything. I don't know if it's coming across, but there's a slight fog inside of here. A little bit of a glow off in the distance. I think that's the other end of the tunnel after a slight curve here. Nearing the other end, I knew I'd want to get a few photos. All of the light from the exterior was reflecting off of trees, so you had this really interesting greenish hue coming inside. All right, we're out on the other side. I'm gonna go further in with the tripod and see if I can get an image with all of the water that's dripping off from the ceiling. Set up inside, I took one image at 17 millimeters and then shortly after another at 35. It's about as high contrast gets. There were a few cyclists coming back my way, so I did some long exposure shots to capture their lights. So good grace is having a couple of cyclists going through there just as I was getting the photos. Pretty cool with the headlights poking through there. Let's bike down a little bit further. I continued down the bike trail but didn't get too far before something caught my attention. Wow. Oh. There's a cool old bridge over here just to the left. Wonder if we can get down to it. Set the bike against a railing, then I was off down a trail to do some exploring. Saw a lean-to with some tasteful language on the side of it, but then there's this nice area with water, and I wanted to wade out to it and see if maybe I could find a composition. Let's get the camera down here. So back up the trail I went, but I had to deal with some of PA's less favorable offerings. As much as I want to switch out the lenses, I think I'm going to have to forego that, because I'm getting absolutely mobbed by mosquitoes here. There's like 30 of them all around me, and I've already been bit like 5 times just adjusting things on my bike. Oh my God. Ah, they're still biting me. Okay, this is why I like the West Coast more. There's less bugs. This is so bad. Back at the stream. I can't remember the last time I had it so bad with mosquitoes. This is horrific. I probably got like, I don't know, 20 bites just in the last few minutes here. It's a cool spot, but I need to get the hell out of here. So we're set up on the tripod now. Let's go ahead and get a quick photo and get going. This was unfortunately the wrong choice in lens, but I think I'm just gonna have to let the bugs win and call it and start heading back. I've made a mistake. I was thinking back at the waterfalls and at the start of the trail with the tunnel, I didn't notice any bugs at all. But it's just like, they hit a certain time of day and they're like, Christine's out. Let's go get lunch. So bad. And now like anytime I'm stopping, they're miserable too. So I think we're just gonna head back through the tunnel and we'll go from there. Go back into the tunnel. And immediately can't see shit. All right. I will say it's slightly easier heading in this direction just because you can look at the end of the tunnel. Really incredible. Here we are, through to the other side. Pretty cool. Closing out, we're going to visit one of the oldest pieces of infrastructure here, the Rockland Furnace. Iron production began here in 1832 and continued through 1854. The wheel pit where water would have been diverted to power the air bellows is still largely intact. The furnace was operated around the clock, with repairs only being made during the worst of winter days. 3 to 5 tons of molten iron would be created every 12 hours here. Now, it's slowly being claimed by moss and trees. You know, I definitely took places like this for granted as a kid, just because you would go on a hike and the trail would be called the Iron Furnace Hike. But seeing a piece of infrastructure this old with these kinds of trees growing on it, it's really wild. Freaky, but you can climb inside of here. Look up. It's a little unnerving being inside of a place like this, but the image is pretty cool. Hope you enjoyed this one. It was a little different for a few reasons. I know I've done some expositions on science and history in the past, but I leaned into it a bit more with this episode. First one in a while with just me recording too, so it was good to dust some cobwebs off there. If you liked it, want to see some more background information along with videos in the future, let me know, and I'll see what I can cook up. Until then, thank you for joining, and I'll catch you around.